It's Tuesday, January 24th, 2023. Um, I went out this morning. This is like, I don't know what color is this, Battleship Gray. This used to be like a navy blue color, except with the sun, the UV light has changed the color of the hat. Um, so, um, I went out this morning. I did 203 zone minutes according to the Fitbit of cardio and fat burning. I think that equates out to like 9 point something miles, but when I really broke it down to be like real specific on people who like the measurement just as accurate as possible, I think it was like 7 and a quarter. Even though overall total steps for the day was around 9, almost 10 miles. I'm thinking to myself in being really accurate, where accuracy counts. When I was little, um, the small things when I was in the city meant so much. The fact that Linda was able to get matching barrettes with matching socks and dressed me like a doll, so I was beautiful um and I really looked like an American princess. They made me feel that way anyhow. Um so small things which made the adults happy. I spent a lot of time around adults, not a lot of time around other children. Um and so one of the treasures, I suppose, was change of scenery and instead of the day school, was going to camp over the summer rather than spending every day inside the house. Um, and so during this summer period in New York, um, Linda and Lou would sign me up for this. They had to pay for it, but um, it was definitely an opportunity to be checked in on by something that watches over. And I mean, I thought that they liked me, um in a sense of pride of whatever. um Although I don't like, I mean, it wasn't like necessarily favoritism showed, but like, I don't know, whichever. So I mean, I stick out like a sore thumb, especially when I was little. um and especially with the groups that I was held amongst. Um, so um, I was in one of the camps. One, they taught me how to shoot arrows. That was like really special. But every day usually we had free time for swim. Um, this was like, I think I had to have been either 4 or 5, maybe 6 at the most. Um, and my my dad wasn't teaching me how to swim, but the camp was. Linda always gives the camps credit for teaching me how to swim. And there was one of the swim instructors. I don't know if he's considered an American dad. I mean, I would call him an American. He was somebody's dad. I mean, if he's one of the watchers or the guardians of over us. He had a special word for who he was, but I'd never heard of that before. But they wanted to make sure that if we were ever around water, that we knew how to stay safe or get to the edge, um, to call for help with the adults. Um, so not knowing like what might happen to us. Um, so one particular dad taught me to lay on my back with my face up and just not sink. That was a really important. He said if he could teach me that in one afternoon, that was really important. Um, and so that happened. Then a different um, set of dads or instructors at some other point came in, and they were more the clipboard type. They were a different kind of serious than the dad who wanted to teach me how to float on my back with my face up, if ever, until I learned how to swim to the edge. Um, the ones that were much more serious, and they were much more, I mean, I don't know if the word drill instructor is better suited for the, because I don't know if that's technically what they were, but it was more along those lines. They wanted, if we ever found ourselves in water for long periods of time where it wasn't so easy to swim to the edge and call for help, again, not knowing where life would take us, they wanted to make sure we knew how to get through treading water if cramps, something called a cramp, ever started, because apparently after you tread water for so long that can set in, and how to do recovery scenarios in case a cramp did start. Um, so there were special moves in the pool that they taught us. Lasted with me for a lifetime. Frightening that I might ever be found out in a large body of water, like with no ships anywhere to be found. Today on the news, actually, it came up, which is what like sparked the memory. And I'm like, I do have that memory of the camp once. But again, different set of American dads, or I mean, like what I would consider somebody who actually cared to show up to teach us some of their special, whatever. I mean, even if it was just like a one time thing, and then, I mean, it stuck. Um, and of course, there's gratefulness in that small, brief meeting where there was some quantum entanglement because they were there, I was there, and there was a process of teaching that went on. Not all of the teaching stuck, but it was in a physical and a water setting, which was important because then there was the gymnasium, which was a different set of whatever. Um, and then later on, not during summer camp, but later on, um, they allowed a swim team. That was Mr. Frank, and that was seventh grade, Mr. Frank's swim team. Um, and there was a lot of commotion that went on. Like I thought we had one coach, but then I don't know if it was revolving door. I'm not quite sure how that was. Again, I was just a kid. They said jump in the pool and start swimming. I started swimming, and then there was like I think a few different strokes that they showed, and at some point somebody had a stopwatch. Um, I think that was the coach for the moment, and that was the instructor we had to listen to, in importance. But these are like small, important, I guess, check ins or whatever. Um, Reality checks, maybe. Because again, I don't really know how or what they use all this information for. But there were signs that someone in government cared, or the clan, or the tribe, or however they, my American dads, the protectors. I don't know what the correct word construct is, to remain respectful for myself and to them. Um, and being for me, it wasn't something that I was prepped for and was able to look forward to. Um, I don't know if they usually, I don't really know how that works. Um, but what I do notice is in on the television today. Now I'm in this only sign that I've ever known, um, for some version of here while I'm here. Um, they had a story this morning, something about a little girl who got abducted. There's a fight over custody. Both of her parents died. Um, it's between the U.S. and the Afghanistan. Um, she wound up in some kind of like orphan category. And then there was some custodial dispute. Um, One says that she was abducted. One wants to adopt her. And I'm thinking relevance. And then I'm thinking, oh, right, usually nobody wants to adopt the responsibility when things go wrong, right? Got that. But there is real whatever. And when it gets messy, what is a daughter supposed to do? Um, and then on the television, also, I saw this morning Good Day America. So they claim, I think it was Fox 5 network, put on something like I'm listening to the way they're presenting it. And like, oh, hip hop's been here for 50 years and it talks about their power movement. And I'm like, uh-huh. I mean, like, again. And then on a different show today, they were talking about the evangelicals, and I'm like, mm-hmm. And I'm just, so there's a power struggle that they're talking about. It goes from this avatar mention in the movies, um, which I found this new avatar very interesting because it's the woodland, like, I don't know if it's the woodland thane, and then the woodland thanes meet the sea people. And like, I don't know, is it like when the army meets the navy? I mean, is that an appropriate parallel to possibly draw? I just, again, don't want to overstep the boundaries of someone else's reality. Um, so there's that. So I'm gonna go pull up the two um, pieces that I caught this morning. Oh, and then one, the other piece was, they're mentioning. I'm watching how now that the Giants lost the Super Bowl, there's something that they do with these contracts. I really have no idea how football really works in its entirety, but I'm like watching through a window of not knowing anything, and I'm watching the coaches and how they're talking about signing people or not signing people, or renewing or not renewing. And then something about an exit interview, and he's like, one guy was like, yeah, that's what they say to everybody on their exit interview. And I'm like, that's interesting. So I don't know how that works. But I found it fascinating. So I'm just going to use both of those as a reference for this morning. Because again, there's like in my time capsule, there's, and my time travel, there's been that 40s show that was already busy at work in things I had no idea existed when I arrived as that 70s show. And now I've time traveled into the year 2023. I now have seeds in the garden, and I don't know if they're up to speed with the version of now and then that I need my children to know about from my perspective, since I haven't spoken on it. Not to them, not to anybody. All right, so it says, good day, wake up to. Today's Tuesday, January 24th, 2023. There is a person somewhere from that 70s show that has a birthday today, so happy birthday to he. Although I don't really know how that altered the course of my life. My Boston representative that I was supposed to go to Northeastern, but somehow got whatever and derailed. I wound up staying local at the LIU for I don't know what reason.
Talk about another icon. A new documentary series about the history of hip hop is coming right to PBS. It's called Fight the Power: How Hip Hop.
Now it says Fight the Power, and then they refer to themselves as Public Enemy. And I'm like, now why did I not hear that growing up the correct way? Why was that 40s show not informed properly, or not keeping me informed properly, if that was a growing concern? And it's called Doc, and it's DO, and then it's Accusers for the IES, and then it says it's coming to PBS at Hip Hop. I mean, I don't think it's marked correctly. I don't necessarily know if it's a good day in New York. On otherworldly news, it seems very frightening. Again, I did keep up my activity points today. And also, there was a song that came on called World Agent. I'm going to put the reference up. It came onto my Pandora. I haven't heard it in years. It used to be on the radio in the 1980s. Part of my time capsule, I suppose, when I was in that time frame before it led me here.
Pop changed the world, and a preview was held at the Schomburg Center.
It changed the world, it says.
Center in Harlem last night, and Public Enemy frontman Chuck D and his manager, they actually developed a four-part series. It all started here in New York. Hip hop turns 50 years old this year.
Help create. When it's over, and it's like, wow, I really get it that this is a thorough art form that was created from the integrity or intensity, energy of a people that not only.
I carefully and like guerrilla warfare. Like some installation happened. I don't know by whom or under whose authority. And it's been growing in the public spectrum. They call themselves Public Enemy. Is that how they've kept sustain and afloat with funding? Because I read yesterday in some rule on Google, if it's guerrilla warfare, not being GOR, but GUR, then there's some billing and the enemy thing. And I mean, again, I'm not really very versed in this. I don't even know where a big brother with an academy education is.
You like look to have a good time with it, but also answer some questions.
And Fight the Power, How Hip Hop Changed the World debuts on PBS January 31st.
What power are they fighting? Because they said that this happened and started in New York. Now, does that compromise my national security and my children's and our safety amongst like family reps? Because like they're fighting the power, and I'm like, no, I very really have power somewhere in the system. I just don't know. And again, I've got like, oh Jesus Christ, yeah, I've got some OH and some Je suis, and there's some real serious church matters to tend to with the children of my cosmic whatever. And so I'm not real clear. And then I hear from the real, I time traveled this way, and in across my path, just past these people in a church setting that are mentioning things like Solomon and David, and I'm like, I should probably mention to my children, you are kept in safe keeping at camp. It was no surprise you went to Canaan element for safety and safekeeping. Just saying. In whatever color PM I put on them, but they were definitely in a PM element for safekeeping at Canaan. Um, Again, I don't live in Jerusalem. I live in New York, but there is some big time crossover events, and I'm not real. I don't know. I don't have Academy of Reps like that. I can just be like, excuse me, could I get an update? Like, how does that work? I, I don't know.
First, guys, that's what's so cool. The fact that
Huge.
hip hop is turning 50 this year. We're going to hear from so many hip hop legends throughout the year just about their impact on the music and even current day hip hop artists as well. So it's really cool to hear from Chuck D.
Just the energy. Imagine, right? Being in the beginning phases of it all to
Yeah.
where we are 50 years later. It has to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Stuff. All right, thank you, Ryan. That's all for Good Day Wake Up. Good Day New York's coming right up next.
Yes, it is. Rosanna and I, we have a great show.
So for me, it feels like, oh my God, over my life frame, what were we caught in the middle of? Because there's some real serious problems with, no, I was the marrying girl type. I was beautiful enough. I have the correct blood type. And I have the star importance. It's a North Star. It's a Nordic star. I'm not real clear as to why I got stuck in this section under these conditions.
Resees him.
We're happy he's going to be here. Hopefully, we can get something done with his representatives, and that would be the goal, to build a team around him where he could, lead us to win the Super Bowl. And Saquon's done everything we've asked him to do, and he's a good football player. Again, the positional value, we'll get into, how we want to build this team and allocate our resources, and that's what it comes down to.
Joe Shane went on to say that they would like to have Saquon Barkley back, but then again, he said that's what they told every player during their exit interviews. Well, Good Day Wake Up. We'll be right back after this.
I'm not even in contact with enough humans that I would hear dramatic rescue stories and things like this. Just so the instructor at the pool when I was younger has an update about where did we all turn out and how did we turn out, in case they want to update their time spent in assignments or check-ins or whatever, or however that works. If it wasn't for this TV piece, it wouldn't even be a thought at this point. I'm so stuck in land and mismanagement that I haven't even had a chance to be anything on the water ever. There were so few times. I mean, within my time frame, and it's in the record.
He used a couple of buoys to help keep him afloat during the time that he was at sea. He's an experienced spearfisher and diver. His mother says that she's been doing it her whole life as well, and it's a miracle.
So that's not a Coast Guard boat, right?
No, that's
Usually I'm sure the
his
Coast Guard.
grandfather's
Grandfather's boat.
grandfather's boat.
I mean, the Coast Guard's usually like, listen, we got this. We're going to do our best. You know,
Right.
you stay put. And the defense was like, no, we're doing it ourselves.
Right.
And they found him.
And he says that he actually, while he was at sea, he heard a plane go by twice, circling, presumably looking for him, but they didn't see him. And can you imagine? You guys have been out at sea when the sun goes down.
Oh my God.
And you look out and there's no land.
The scariest
It
thing
is so
ever.
black. You can't see your hand in front of you. And now you're in the water and there's stuff in the water with you.
Dylan's mom said it was like being looking for a needle in a haystack, and they found him. It also talks about the power of family.
Yes.
Because nobody could have done that but family. They said, no, we're going out. We're going to do whatever it takes. And Dylan says he's in the water. He looks at me, goes, I think that's my grandfather's
Yeah, his
boat.
boat, his grandfather's
I love
boat.
that. I love that.
So great.
People should go online and see
And
that
see
whole
the
video.
full story, yeah.
Now, this morning they had up also, I mentioned the other day, Thunderbirds came on, and they flashed up Super Mario Nation, Super Mario Nation. And I'm like, that's interesting. And then today, I heard on the radio yesterday when I was going to the doctor, I checked in with Beanstalk. I told her about my health stats, how the Fitbit keeps saying that my heart rate is dropping into this dangerous range. And it's not all the time, but it's been consistently enough that I'm like, what could it be? I had her do a hepatitis check on all 3 levels, like a panel. The last time I went to the other doctor, she said everything came up normal again. Because I'm thinking, is it foodborne? You never know. And so it all came back normal, but I'm having trouble over the last few days breathing, like catching my breath. It used to be easier when I was running to catch my breath, to oxygenate or to respirate. Over the last 2 days, I'm noticing that my breathing is a lot more labored or laborious. So I don't know what the change in the humors or the plasma or the albumin or whatever word metabolically it goes by, or electrolyte wise. I'm not quite sure. I don't know how to monitor that on my own. My studies were not that in depth. I just know it's something to keep an eye on and raise concern about. And so I checked in with her, so I left her whatever, and now we'll have to see, I guess by Thursday. She said she'll know if the anemia, like the hypovolemia, if it's within range. Last time it was, because there's still no answers on what the sudden, there was no hemorrhaging, there was no anything, but there's this sudden, like, dangerous blood loss out of nowhere, to need blood transfusions. Nobody's even talking. I have nobody to talk to about that. And so, anyhow, so on going back to Thunderbirds, so on there, it mentions this Super Mario Nation, which I really don't know what it is, but MAR is waterborne, I thought, or mare. If it's with an E, it's a horse. Again, I'm year of the horse, but anyhow, so I'm listening to that, and then today I didn't realize that Mars is a candy brand for national brand advertising, and they have something to do with M&Ms. And so now they're taking away the colored cartoon M&Ms for I don't know what reason, and they're putting some human spokesperson in there. I mean, again, these are not decisions that I voted on and approved. Nobody's asked my opinion. Nobody's even asked for my voice on this. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a survey. I don't have a poll. I don't have anything. But they're making these statements like as if it passed the board of directors and like as if these are allowable events. And I'm like, on whose authority? I mean, like, then they go back to, they mention the Muppets. That's a whole nother set of circumstances. So I'm just watching this piece this morning. I heard it on the radio yesterday as I was going to Port Washington to meet with the doctor. But it's like it's really like a first time like series of events where I've even heard them speak on these marketing pieces, which have really significant management role. I mean, it's how management rolls, but I don't understand why is it being rolled over? Is there some kind of hostile mergers and acquisitions takeover again on whose authority? And does like my American Dad know? Like the one that actually was like there in my youth, not like the one that Lynn calls a husband. I know he's here, but he would, I mean, these aren't even intellectual conversations I can have with him because, like, he gives me the brush off.
Controversy over something that matters to all of us. Guess what it is? M&M's.
I'm a fan.
You know anybody that doesn't like M&M's?
I eat a lot of them.
M&M says it's making the switch. Nate, you didn't say you like M&M's.
I love M&M's. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Making sure you're
Nick,
human.
yeah, Nick was fine. M&M says it's making the switch after getting some backlash. Can you imagine getting backlash about some recent changes to its spokes candies, including switching the footwear on one of the people, adding a new color? People had some things to say about that. So the company says we just want to give the candy a fresh take, but due to the negative feedback that M&M's received, they're now going to be on an indefinite break. Who's going to take over as the spokesperson? I think they're in very good hands. Funny lady Maya Rudolph, love her. She will make her debut as a spokesperson in the M&M Super Bowl ad on Sunday, which...
Who chose her? I didn't even have a vote. I didn't have a say. There's been no like meeting, like, is this acceptable? I mean, there are star ordinances in like the hierarchy and the builders network. I'm just so unclear as to why I've been so disconnected from any of these major life altering or possibility of life altering pieces of my time that are included in my time capsule. I mean, it's unbelievable how they've disconnected me from any kind of social setting or network and ability in my lifetime to even get to where, like, I mean, how do I answer? And how do I, like, I mean, again,
I like
It's
that.
the Super Bowl, Nate.
Yeah.
It's the Super Bowl. It's Sunday, February 12th. Why does Nate know? Because he's going to be there. But this is what Maya says. As a lifelong lover of candy, I feel it's such an honor to be asked to be part of such a legendary brand. I mean, you just don't think of M&M's as being controversial. And people would read all sorts of things into the chain. Was an M&M plus size? Why are they wearing sneakers instead of tennis shoes? I mean, it got that crazy. So they said, look, we're going to take a break. And we've asked the lovely Maya to do it. She will kill it.
People get very defensive about their fictional characters.
But it reminds me actually when the Muppets had a controversy over sexual orientation of the Muppets, and I remember they put out a statement that said like they have no sexual orientation. They're
Yes.
Muppet.
I never even heard that conversation.
Yes,
They're puppets.
exactly right. Exactly right.
All right, my talk of the table is I want to bring our viewers and my co-host into a conversation in my household, and apparently a conversation going on in a lot of households.
Okay.
It's about tipping.
Oh.
So tipping has really grown and changed in recent years. It's everywhere, places you never expected before. You got that little iPad, they turn to you, and then it's got.
I don't have money to go out, and so this is not a concern of mine at the moment. I watched the piece. I get it. I've been in situations. Um, I understand the whole whatever, like grand concourse kind of a way, but it's not relevant. It's not even on a spectrum of possibility from this point with no internal mechanisms. I watched that movie that the Academy put out, which means it has to have had some military approval. Everything, everywhere, all at once. It seems to be a lot of their underground stuff at AAPI, which I have no access to. And all their underground stuff coming to the forefront and being put in one movie where it's a lot of visual stimulus and some of it very distasteful in the sense of like, oh my god, what could they mean by that? And so some of it's hard to watch. But I'm not critic. I'm not like I'm respectful of that they did get it put together. Um so this way it's just one piece that they can discuss or whatever on whatever. Um but it was interesting how they approached this parallel dimensions discussion that I don't know if that's going on in their community at AAPI. In my what I arrived to, there's no discussion of time travel. There's no discussion of time capsule. No discussion of time at all. I mean, they know I'm here. They know that I had the special baby. That's it. There's been no other anything. Um, it's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.